Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to learn about IELTS Writing Task 2. We are going to focus on how to write a direct question essay. A direct question essay. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to write the main body and conclusion. In the next lesson, I'm going to teach you how to write the introduction of this particular question. Now, before we begin our lesson, I would like to point out a few things about IELTS Writing Task 2. The first thing is that you're expected to write over 250 words. The next thing is that you are supposed to write your essay in 40 minutes. If you're aiming to get a band 8 or a band 9, then you're expected to write more than 300 words. 300, 320 words, thereabout. The other thing that I would like to point out is when it comes to writing task 2, the general training students and the academic IELTS student write exactly the same type of essay. It is written in the same way and it is marked in the same way. The only difference is that the general training students usually get questions that are simpler, and the topics are also easier than for the academic IELTS students. So this particular essay is for both general training and academic IELTS students. Remember, this is going to be a band 9 answer. Now, have you subscribed to the channel? If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do so, because I promise you will not regret subscribing to my channel. The reason is I not only upload videos on IELTS writing, but also IELTS speaking. So on my channel, you can find plenty of videos on how to respond to questions on IELTS speaking part 1, Part 2 and Part 3. But that's not all. In my channel, you can find videos on grammar, all the 13 tenses in English, vocabulary, and videos that are going to help you to speak English in different situations. For example, when you go to the hairdresser, or when you go to the doctor, or when you go to the optician, or how to speak to someone that you have just met in English. So have a look at my channel. I have a lot of really helpful videos. So subscribe to the channel, and if you find this video useful, then give this video a thumbs up. Now let's get into our question. The very first thing that you have to do when you're doing your IELTS writing task 2 is to read the question. Read the question really carefully and ensure that you understand all the parts of the question. That's the key. What are the different parts of the question? Let's read our question together. It is often said, "When in Rome, do as the Romans do." Do you think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit? Do you think it is possible to learn a culture without learning the language? So that question begins with an expression that we have in English, and that is, "When in Rome, do as the Romans do." That expression means that when you visit a certain country, you should follow the rules of that particular country. You should adapt. You should follow their rules, their culture, their traditions, their norms, and their values. So when in Rome, when you visit another country to live there or just to visit, do as the Romans do. Do as they do. Act as they do. Okay? Follow their rules. Accept their culture. Respect their culture. That is what that expression means. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. When you visit a new country to live there or just as a visitor, accept their culture, respect their culture, follow their rules. So once you have understood the expression, then let's look at the two questions. Question 1. Do you think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit? The key word there is adapt and accept. So this question is asking if when you visit a country that is not your home country, should you adapt? Should you adjust to its culture? Okay, should you adjust to its culture and accept it or not? And then the second question, do you think it is possible to learn a culture without learning the language? Now that question is challenging because it's asking you, do you think that you can learn a culture of a particular country without learning their language? Is it possible for you to learn a culture of a certain group of people without learning the language they speak? Now, once you have understood the questions, then you move on and write your introduction. Remember, in your introduction, you need to write the background statement and the thesis statement. In the next video, I'm going to teach you how to write the introduction of this question. So once you have written the introduction, then you have to write your body paragraph 2, your body paragraph 3, and your conclusion. That is because your writing task 2 should only have 4 paragraphs. Paragraph 1 should be the introduction. After that, you write the main body, which should have 2 paragraphs, that is body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3. And then the last paragraph should be the conclusion. So you need to write 4 paragraphs. Remember, you have only 40 minutes to do that. So once you have written your introduction, then begin writing body paragraph 2. Now, what should you put in body paragraph 2 when it comes to a direct question essay? Now, in your direct essay question, most of the times you will get 2 questions. In our case, we have the question, do you think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit? That is the first question. So body paragraph 2 should be answering the first question. And then body paragraph 3 should answer the second question. So how do you write body paragraph 2? We need to answer the first question. Do you think? So the first part is, do you think? So this question is asking for your opinion. Do you think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit? In my opinion, so I am beginning with that linking word, in my opinion, to make it very clear that I am responding to, do you think? So I am being asked for my opinion. So I begin with the linking words, in my opinion, comma, people ought to adjust and accept the cultural traditions of the country they visit due to a number of reasons. Okay, so that is my topic sentence. A topic sentence is the first sentence of the paragraph, and it tells you what the rest of the paragraph is going to be talking about. The topic sentence also introduces your opinion. In my opinion, so I'm answering the first question directly. The question asked me, do you think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit? And I'm answering that question directly in the first sentence of body paragraph 2. In my opinion, people ought to adjust. To adjust means to adapt and accept the cultural traditions of the country they visit, due to a number of reasons. So in the last part of that sentence, I make it very clear to the examiner that I'm going to give you some reasons to prove why I think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit. Now, firstly, so I'm about to give my first reason to support my opinion. Firstly, comma, this will guarantee that they are fully welcome by the residents of the country they are visiting. So the first reason why I think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit is because it will guarantee that they are welcome by the residents. The residents are the people who live in that country. So if you adapt and accept the culture, then the people who live in that country, that is the residents of that country, they are going to welcome you fully. Okay? So firstly, this will guarantee that they are fully welcome by the residents of the country they are visiting. As a result, comma, I'm using another linking word to elaborate my first point. As a result, comma, they will enjoy their visit and the hospitality of the locals. As a result, they will enjoy their visit and the hospitality of the locals. So the first point is that if you accept and adapt to the culture of the country that you're visiting, you will be fully welcome by the residents of the country. And because of that, you will enjoy your visit and the hospitality of the locals. Locals here means the natives or the residents. So I've just used another synonym for residents, which is locals. Locals are the people who live in that country. So that's my first point to support my opinion. And now I'm about to move to the second point. So I use the linking word moreover, comma, adapting to the country's culture will give the visitors an opportunity to learn more about the norms and the values of the host country, which could be beneficial to them. For example, respect for the elderly and politeness. So another reason as to why, in my opinion, people ought to adjust and accept the cultural traditions of the country they visit is because it will give the visitors an opportunity to learn more about the norms and the values of the host country. The host country is the country that you visit. Okay, so if you accept and adapt to their culture, it's going to make it easy for you to learn. It's going to give you the opportunity to learn more about their norms and their values. These are the things that they think they find important, their traditions, okay? And once you have learned the new country's norms and values, they could be beneficial to you. For example, respect for the elderly. For example, if you go to a country where they respect old people a lot, and in your own country, people don't really have a lot of respect for the elderly, once you go back to your home country, then you will bring along that practice, okay, of respecting the elderly. Or let's say, for example, you visit a country and people there are very, very polite. After being there for some time, when you go back to your country, then there is a great chance that you will also try to be polite to other people. So when you visit a country and you accept the culture of that country, it's going to give you an opportunity to learn more about the norms and the values of the host country, which could be very beneficial. Beneficial means an advantage. When you go back to your country, for example, you could learn norms and values such as respect for the elderly and politeness. Now, I'm about to move on to the third point to support my opinion. So I'm introducing it using the connector or linking word furthermore. Furthermore, accepting and adapting the culture of the country they are visiting is a sign of respect for their way of life. Furthermore, accepting and adapting to the culture of the country they are visiting is a sign of respect for their way of life. So another reason as to why people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit is because it's a sign of respect for their way of life. It's a sign of respect for that culture. Okay? So in that body paragraph, I started off by answering the question directly. That is the first question. Do you think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit? I said, in my opinion, people ought to adjust and accept the cultural traditions of the country they visit due to a number of reasons. And then after that, I gave 3 reasons to support my opinion. And that is what I recommend you to do if you want to get a band 8 or a band 9. Begin the paragraph by answering the first question directly and then end that first sentence with something like due to a number of reasons. And then after that, give 3 reasons, okay? And introduce each of the reasons using a linking word. And to elaborate your answers, also use linking words. For example, in body paragraph 2, I have used a number of linking words. In my opinion, and, due to, firstly, as a result, and, for example. So introduce your 3 key points using linking words such as firstly, moreover, and furthermore. And to elaborate your points, use other linking words like the linking words that I have put in bold. That is due to, and, as a result, for example. Okay? So that's how you write body paragraph 2. You answer the first part of the question. Then you move on to body paragraph 3, and in body paragraph 3, we are going to answer the second question. Do you think it is possible to learn a culture without learning the language? Do you think it is possible to learn a culture without learning the language? Now, from my point of view, it is impossible to learn a culture of a certain country without learning the language. So that is my direct answer to the second question. From my point of view, it is impossible to learn a culture of a certain country without learning the language. And then after that, I am going to give reasons to support my point of view. To begin with, so I use a linking word to introduce my first point. To begin with, so instead of saying firstly, you can also use to begin with. To begin with, you need language to communicate with the natives in order to comprehend their traditions and cultural heritage. So, the first point as to why I believe that to learn a culture of a certain country you need language is because to communicate with the natives and to be able to understand their traditions and their cultural heritage, you need language. You need language to communicate with the natives. Natives are locals, okay? they're the locals, they're the residents. Remember in body paragraph 2, I used residents and I used locals. So in body paragraph 3, I'm using a different word, and that is natives. All these three words mean the same: natives, locals, residents. Remember, this is a band 9 essay, so I have to use a wide vocabulary. Okay, so once you have written the first, so without, now I'm going to elaborate. So to begin with, you need language to communicate with the natives in order to comprehend their traditions and cultural heritage. Then I'm going to elaborate the first point. Without language, you would struggle to understand why they act in a certain way or hold certain norms, because a language reflects the values and beliefs of a culture. So I have elaborated that first point, and I have used linking words such as in order to, because, or, and. I have used these linking words to help me to elaborate my first point. Without language, you would struggle to understand why they act in a certain way or hold certain norms, because a language reflects the values and beliefs of a culture. So that is my first point to support my view that it is impossible to learn a culture of a certain country without learning the language. Then I'm about to introduce my second point. So I am going to use another linking word. In addition to that, comma, when you interact with another language, it means that you are also interacting with its culture. So to understand it fully, you would have to learn the language. For instance, in a lot of cultures, they have a lot of nuances in meanings, which you miss out on if you do not speak their language. So my second point is that when you interact with another language, it means that you're also interacting with its culture. So to understand another culture, you need to learn the language so that you are able to understand that language fully. For example, in a lot of cultures, they have a lot of nuances in meanings, which you would miss out on if you don't speak their language. And then I'm about to introduce my third point. Besides that, see, I introduced my third point using another linking word. Besides that, comma, failure to learn the language would minimize your interaction with the natives, making it hard to comprehend their culture. This can also create misunderstanding. So that third point is saying that if you don't learn the language of a country that you're going to visit, or if you're going to visit in a new country, if you're going to live in a new country and you do not learn the language, it means that you do not interact with the natives a lot. You do not interact with the locals a lot. And because of that, that would make it really hard to understand their culture, because you don't interact with them at all, because you have the language barrier. You don't speak their language. And that would create misunderstanding. It would not only make it hard to understand their culture, but it can also create misunderstanding. So that is my third reason why I believe it is impossible to learn a culture of a certain country without learning the language. Firstly, you need language to communicate with the natives in order to be able to understand their traditions and their heritage. Secondly, when you interact with another language, it means you're also interacting with its culture. So to understand the culture fully, you would have to learn the language. And then thirdly, if you don't learn the language of the people then it means that you will not be able to interact with them at all. You can't speak with them, you can't socialize with them, and because of that, you can't understand their culture. This can also create misunderstanding. So, what we have done in body paragraph 2 is we started by answering body paragraph 2 is answering the first question. Do you think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit? I began body paragraph 2 by answering that question directly. After that, I provided the examiner with 3 reasons to support my opinion. I ensure that I introduced each of those reasons using a linking word. Firstly, moreover, furthermore. And then I ensured that I elaborated each of my points by using linking words such as a result, and for example. And then when it came to body paragraph 3, I answered the second question. Do you think it is possible to learn a culture without learning the language? I provided my answer to that question at the beginning of body paragraph 3 from my point of view, and then in the rest of the paragraph I provided the examiner with 3 reasons to support my point of view. I introduced each of those reasons using a linking word such as to begin with, in addition to that, besides that. And then I elaborated my points and I used linking words to help me to elaborate my points. For example, I used in order to, because, or, and, also. And now let's move on to the conclusion. How should you write the conclusion? Now, in the conclusion, you are summing up your key points in body paragraph 2 and in body paragraph 3. So you are summing them up. You are summing up your opinion, okay? In your conclusion, you should sum up your opinion, or rather, your personal viewpoint in regards to the first and the second question. Okay, so in your conclusion, you tie your opinion of the first question and your opinion of the second question. You tie them together, you link them together and write that in your conclusion. And you always begin your conclusion with the words to sum up, or to conclude, or in conclusion. So in my case, I used to sum up, comma, it is of paramount importance that visitors to a new culture integrate into its way of life by learning the language of the host country so as to foster a harmonious coexistence, mutual understanding, and respect. Let me explain that. So, to sum up, it is of paramount importance. It is paramount simply means very important. Okay? So, to sum up, it is very important that visitors to a new culture, okay, integrate. To integrate means to adapt. It should integrate into the new way of life. And how should they do that? Remember, the first part, it is of paramount importance that visitors to a new culture integrate into its way of life. That is my answer to the first question. Do you think people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit? It is of paramount importance that visitors to a new culture integrate into its way of life. So in the first part of my conclusion, I am answering the first question. And then, do you think it's possible to learn a culture without learning the language? Now, I am providing my opinion to that second question in the rest of the sentence. Okay? By learning the language of the host country so as to foster a harmonious coexistence. So I'm giving some reasons as to why I think it's very important that visitors to a new culture integrate to the new way of life, okay? The reasons for that is to foster. To foster means to promote. A harmonious means peaceful. To foster, to promote a harmonious means peaceful coexistence. Coexistence means living with each other so as to promote a peaceful coexistence. Mutual understanding, okay? Mutual understanding means that they understand you, that is the natives of the country where you have moved to, they understand you and you understand them. There is mutual understanding and respect because you have learned the language of the new culture, okay? So in my conclusion, I have answered question 1 and question 2 and given the reasons why, okay? So to sum up, it is of paramount importance that visitors to a new culture integrate to its way of life. That is answering the first part of the question. And then by learning the language of the host country, okay, so as to foster a harmonious coexistence, mutual understanding and respect. That is answering the second question. Okay, so what should you write in your conclusion? Begin your conclusion with to sum up, or to conclude, or in conclusion. And then after that, write your answer to the first question, and then write your answer, or rather your opinion, to the second question, and write reasons. In my case, I wrote the reasons as to foster or to promote a harmonious coexistence, mutual understanding, and respect. So I believe very strongly that people should adapt and accept the culture of the country they visit to foster, to promote a harmonious coexistence, that is to be able to live peacefully with each other, mutual understanding, be able to understand them and they understand you, and respect. They respect you and you respect them. So that is how to write the main body and conclusion of a direct essay question. In the next video, I'm going to teach you how to write the introduction. So once you have watched this video, I recommend that you also watch the video on how to write the introduction so that you have a complete Band 9 essay. If you found this lesson helpful, do not forget to subscribe to the channel so that you know when I upload a new video, and turn your notification button on, but also give this video a thumbs up and share with other people, because sharing is caring. I have shared with you this video, so share with other people, okay? Let other people also benefit. Don't keep the channel a secret anymore. Share with others, okay? Now, thank you very much and see you in our next lesson. Bye-bye.